close your eyes. Imagine the deepest silence of night. The kind of silence that amplifies every creak of an old house, every rustle of leaves outside your window. Now, imagine a cry from that silence. Not a scream of terror, but a desperate, mournful whisper. A whisper from someone long dead, trapped between worlds, begging for justice. Tonight, we delve into a true story, a chilling piece of history from the untamed lands of early colonial Australia, a tale not of a monster in the shadows, but of a ghost who refused to rest, a ghost whose spectral plea led to the unearthing of a brutal truth and the conviction of a killer. This is the legend of Fisher's ghost, a specter that still walks the fields of Campbelltown, reminding us that some secrets simply refuse to stay buried. Our story begins in 1826, in a place far removed from the comforts of England, a fledgling settlement carved from the harsh, unforgiving Australian bush. This was Campbelltown, New South Wales, not the bustling town it is today, but a raw, untamed frontier. Life here was brutal. Convicts toiled under the blistering sun, settlers wrestled with the wild land, and the specter of the unknown lurked in every shadow of the dense eucalyptus forests. Law and order were fragile, justice often distant, and the land itself held ancient, silent secrets. It was a place where fortunes could be made or lost, and where men sometimes simply disappeared. Into this harsh landscape came Frederick Fisher. He was no ordinary settler. Fisher was a pardoned convict, a man who had served his time and, through hard work, had managed to carve out a respectable life. He owned a thriving farm by the tranquil waters of George's River, a modest fortune, and a solid reputation. For a man who had once been on the wrong side of the law, he had achieved a remarkable transformation. His farm, known as the Grange, was a symbol of his newfound prosperity. But wealth, even in a remote settlement, often breeds envy, and envy, as we know, is a dangerous companion. Frederick Fisher had a friend, or so he believed. His name was George Worrall. Worrall was also a pardoned convict, but unlike Fisher, he lacked the same drive and ambition. He was a man of lesser means, burdened with debt and shadowed by a reputation for being somewhat unreliable. On the 17th of June, 1826, Frederick Fisher was seen for the last time. He had left his farm in the company of Worrall, ostensibly on some business in a nearby town. But Fisher never returned. Days turned to a week, then two. His crops lay untended, his cattle roamed, and his absence became a palpable, unsettling void in the small community. When questioned about Fisher's whereabouts, John Worrall had a ready explanation. He claimed that Fisher, weary of colonial life, had secretly decided to return to England. He had, Worrall insisted, entrusted his entire farm, his animals, and even his watch and possessions to Worrall's care. Fisher would send for them when he was settled. It was a plausible story, in a time when men often vanished into the vastness of the sea or the anonymity of the bustling ports. But for those who knew Fisher, it didn't quite ring true. Fisher was a man of his word, a man deeply invested in his land. To abandon everything so abruptly, without a trace, without a proper farewell, It seemed unlike him, but Worrall played the part of the dutiful friend. He began to manage Fisher's farm, sell off his livestock, and wear Fisher's expensive watch with a casual air that many found unsettling. He even attempted to cash a check drawn on Fisher's account, a brazen act that raised the first serious suspicions. The local magistrates, though initially accepting of Worrall's story, began to feel a chill of unease. Fisher's disappearance was too convenient, Worrall's sudden prosperity too pronounced, but without a body, without concrete evidence, it was just suspicion. And in the wild lands of Campbelltown, suspicion was often not enough for justice. Weeks passed. The mystery of Frederick Fisher's disappearance settled into the quiet unease of the community. People talked, they whispered, but no one truly knew. The law was powerless. Then one evening, a local man named John Farley was making his way home along the banks of the Georges River. It was late, the moon was high, and the bushland was alive with the unseen sounds of the night. Farley was tired, perhaps a little unnerved by the isolation. As he approached a familiar wooden fence, he saw it. Sitting on the fence in the pale moonlight was a figure, a man. His face was pale, his eyes wide and vacant, and he was bleeding from a wound on his forehead. Farley froze. His blood ran cold. He knew that face. It was Frederick Fisher. The figure, translucent and unmoving, did not speak. It simply sat there, its arm outstretched, its spectral finger pointing towards the shallow, muddy waters of the creek nearby. A silent, desperate gesture. Farley, a hardened bushman, was terrified beyond anything he had ever experienced. He didn't question what he saw. He knew it was Fisher. And he knew that Fisher was trying to tell him something. The ghost pointed repeatedly, insistently towards the creek, then vanished as silently as it had appeared. Farley, shaken to his core, raced to Campbelltown. He recounted his chilling encounter to anyone who would listen, his voice trembling with fear and conviction. The local authorities, including Constable Lee, were initially skeptical. Ghosts were tales for campfires, not for courtrooms. But Farley's terror was undeniable, his story specific. The wound on the forehead, the direction of the pointing finger, it was too precise to dismiss entirely.
Driven by a morbid curiosity and perhaps a faint, lingering hope for justice, Constable Lee decided to investigate. He gathered a small party, including a still-shaken John Farley, and headed to the creek bank, to the exact spot where the spectral finger had pointed. The ground there was soft, recently disturbed. It was beneath a small bridge, a place where a body could easily be concealed, close enough to the water to wash away suspicion, yet hidden from casual sight. They began to dig. The air was heavy with anticipation, a mix of dread and grim determination. Every scoop of soil, every clink of the shovel heightened the tension. And then they found it. Buried barely 3 feet beneath the surface, exactly where Fisher's ghost had pointed, was the partially decomposed body of Frederick Fisher. His clothes were still intact, recognizable to those who knew him. And chillingly, upon closer inspection, a severe wound was visible on his forehead, just as Farley had described. The discovery sent shockwaves through Campbelltown. A ghost had not only appeared, but it had led them directly to the truth. The spectral plea for justice had been heard. The impossible had occurred. The body of Frederick Fisher was exhumed, examined, and the cause of death confirmed. A fatal blow to the head, consistent with the wound the ghost had displayed. The case was no longer a disappearance. It was murder. And the prime suspect, now undeniable, was George Worrall. With the body discovered and the evidence overwhelming, George Worrall was arrested and charged with the murder of Frederick Fisher. He confessed to the crime, admitting that he had indeed murdered Fisher, striking him with an axe, burying his body, and then attempting to steal his property. His motive was clear: greed. Fisher's newfound prosperity had been a temptation too great for Worrall to resist. He had believed he could dispose of the body, weave a convincing tale, and simply inherit Fisher's farm and fortune. He had not, however, accounted for a witness from beyond the grave. On the 8th of February, 1827, George Worrall was found guilty and sentenced to death. He was executed by hanging in Sydney, just 8 months after Fisher's ghostly appearance. Justice, swift and undeniable, had been served. But the story did not end there. The legend of Fisher's ghost spread like wildfire throughout New South Wales. It became one of Australia's most enduring and famous ghost stories, passed down through generations. The local community of Campbelltown, instead of shying away from its chilling past, embraced it. Today, Campbelltown hosts the annual Festival of Fisher's Ghost, a vibrant and unique celebration that commemorates the spectral appearance that led to justice. It's a testament to the power of the unexplained, a reminder that some truths are so profound they defy the boundaries of life and death. Frederick Fisher's ghost, it is said, still rides through the fields of Campbelltown, particularly around the time of the festival. Some say he is still searching for something, perhaps for eternal rest. Others believe he is simply keeping watch, a silent, spectral guardian ensuring that justice always finds its way, no matter how long the secret is buried. The story of Fisher's ghost forces us to confront a chilling possibility: that the dead can indeed speak, that their cries for justice, their final agony, can echo beyond the grave to pierce the veil between worlds to demand accountability. So, the next time you walk alone at night and you feel an inexplicable chill or hear a whisper on the wind that no one else can hear, perhaps it's just the breeze. Or perhaps it's a desperate plea reaching out from the silent earth, begging you to listen. What do you think of Fisher's ghost? Do you believe the dead can truly seek justice? Share your thoughts and your own ghost stories in the comments below. If this true tale of the spectral confession sent shivers down your spine, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the terrifying and unexplained. Thank you for listening.
Prince of Darkness.